Good afternoon, welcome everyone. My name is Greg Schmidt. I am the Chief Information Officer for the USCCA. We're a membership-based organization that provides self-defense education, training, and content. So we currently have around 310,000 active members. We acquire customers with a broad range of marketing techniques, including direct response email to a list of around 2 million people. And we currently advertise across about 14 different traffic teams and are trending to spend around $12 million this year in lead generation and direct sales marketing tactics. And so given that large amount of ad spend, each traffic team does their own analytics reporting with revenue to spend ratio as their primary measure of success. We use a first and last touch revenue attribution model with unique tracking IDs to both accurately track revenue amongst the traffic teams and to calculate the return on the ad spend. So ultimately, this is a key metric that we use to direct ad spend to the most profitable traffic teams, campaigns, ads, and audiences. So although our marketing is rather broad now, it started primarily as lead generation with direct response email marketing. We'd get people to opt in and then send them a ton of emails until they either opted out or would buy something. Our key and basically only metric at that time was CPL, or cost per lead. And we closed about 95% of our sales with email. But as we grew in leads, customers, and ad budget, we also grew in technology and discovered that around 20% of our new leads were leads that we already had, leads that we had already paid for. And so using Looker reports, we could now see all the different lead audiences and the percentages of new leads, which helped us understand the maturity of some of our audiences. We were fishing in the right spot, but basically using the wrong bait. We had customers that were repeatedly opting in. We were calling them hyper opt-inners, but weren't buying when we sent them any promotional emails. Audiences were as few as 10% of the leads were actually new, so like 90% of the leads were people we had already paid for. So we switched the offer from a lead generation to a direct sale, meaning that they click on the ad and they go straight to a sales page versus a landing page for collecting email. And we found that if we'd make the switch at around 50%, that's where we could be successful. So once we got to the point where 50% of the leads were these hyper opt-inners, we knew that the audience was probably warm enough to handle a direct sales approach. Bless you. So this was a pretty significant shift for us in that we could really start using data to drive business decisions. This is also the underlying reason to develop our call center. Overall conversion rates were 20 to 30 times higher when we got a customer on the phone. So we started putting our phone number everywhere on ads and landing pages, emails, just driving traffic to make the phone call. And our call center now does over 30% of new membership sales. So we are currently using our data and analytics for descriptive and diagnostic purposes. We've created a tracking infrastructure that captures 7 unique lead fields of hierarchical data, like high level down to granular, that label the key interactions with our leads and customers. Our reports describe what happened and why at these interactions via counts of dollars spent, new leads acquired, click-through rates, membership sold, and revenue earned. And as we continue our growth, as both a company using data and an analytics team becoming more proficient, we have a clear roadmap of where we're going, which is moving from the descriptive into predictive and then eventually into prescriptive. All right, so customer stratification can be used to identify a company's most important customers and provide the impetus to pursue those customers. Stratification is often found in wholesale distribution companies as a method to manage their current customer base. So this model describes core customers as those with high profitability, sustained relationship, low cost to serve, and high volume, as opposed to the marginal customers, which is the opposite, low profitability, no relationship, high cost to serve, and low volume. And then opportunistic and service trained kind of split those attributes within their respective quadrants. Customer stratification, it's based on a lifetime value calculation, which can be a difficult undertaking, sometimes arbitrary, and especially more difficult with a subscription-based business. So we're essentially borrowing from that stratification model to create two high-level data sets, one with our best, our core customers, and one with our worst or marginal customers. And the goal is to assign a value to each customer in that data set. So in our case, we're using tier 1 for our core customers and tier 9 for our marginal customers. So the definition of our tier 1 or our core customers is members who purchased our highest level of membership, they bought additional products, and they've been members for more than 4 years with us. And then the definition of our tier 9 or marginal customers is members who purchased our lowest level of membership and then canceled in less than 1 year. So the purpose of assigning the values to each data set is that we can now start working on our questions, which is, are the tier 1 and tier 9 customers different? And if so, what attributes make them different? The hypothesis is that the attributes that define our tier 1 customers are visible and consistent in new leads. And therefore, audiences can be recognized and created with these attributes. So we currently build lookalike audiences in Facebook and to a certain degree Google. But the secret sauce, like the characteristics and attributes which those audiences are built upon, it's not ours. And so if this hypothesis is true, we can search for existing audiences that have these characteristics and also build our own audiences, defining the specific attributes of these customers. And so we'll also understand the expected lifetime value of these guys, and so means we can likely spend more to acquire them as well. So the existence of core customers also means the existence of opportunistic, marginal, and service-trained customers as well. And the key to these guys is recognizing what classification they are upon acquisition so that we can prescribe treatment in the hopes of developing them into core customers, predictive and prescriptive, right? Like predicting what these customers will be so we can prescribe specific actions or engagement. All right, so now that we've identified and labeled our tier 1 and our tier 9 customers, we exported our internal data set, which includes lifetime value, membership level, membership duration, the days to convert, lead channel and sub-channel, products purchased before a membership, products purchased after, member services interaction, email engagement, all the kind of the basic transactional data set that you get. And then we enhance that with data that we purchase, with additional demographic and psychographic information from a third party, a reverse append. And so that data was then cleaned and normalized, made binary if possible, and loaded back into our data warehouse. We use Amazon Redshift for that, for access by Looker and Kraken. So using Kraken, which is Big Squid's machine learning platform, we're able to identify the drivers that are most influential and unique to our tier 1 or our best customers, as you can see on the left. So in order to take this application on the next level, we need to purchase this attribute data for all of our leads and members. And given the cost of reverse append data, it's important we maximize our return by reducing this cost as much as possible. So again, we use Kraken to help us by refining the analysis, and we created multiple versions and correlation matrices to define relationships between these attributes. And ultimately, we were able to reduce cost of attribute data per individual by 77%. So in other words, instead of having to purchase 13 attributes to predict the customer tier, we identified that only 3 are needed, as they were able to explain approximately 98% of the variation. So to truly utilize these analyses and move up the analytics escalator, so to speak, it's vital we are able to predict the impacts of various marketing actions versus hypothesizing, testing, and reacting, which is more characteristic of descriptive analytics. So by using scenarios within Kraken, we're able to identify outcomes which allow us to predict specific audiences to target or exclude, and know how to direct ad spend and how to adjust return on ad spend thresholds specific to traffic source, audiences, and campaigns. Ultimately, this just allows us to maximize company growth through acquiring and converting our ideal customers as opposed to less ideal. So our post-machine learning workflow involves analyzing our results in Looker dashboards, to generate hypotheses, and then testing these hypotheses using Kraken scenarios, and then finally applying these outcomes to marketing strategies. All right, so let's look at a specific example using one customer attribute or driver, and we'll step all the way through the process. So using Looker, we analyze the results to identify specific variables within each attribute that have the highest probability of being a Tier 1 customer. So in this example, we're looking at the most influential driver, which is Mosaic households. This is a demographic segmentation created by Experian. You guys know the credit company. So it looks to provide a multi-dimension view of a community, taking into account multiple socioeconomic and life stage factors. Mosaic it's fascinating as a demographic segmentation system. So this graph here is showing the various mosaics and how accurately they're able to predict our Tier 1 customers. So next we go into Kraken and we start using scenarios where we have the ability to adjust the variables of each driver. We're essentially testing our hypothesis prior to working with marketing to implement any strategy. And so simply by increasing or decreasing these variables, as you can see on the left, we can determine the best audiences or mosaics to target or exclude based on the scenario outcome. And on the right, you see that we've identified a scenario that increases the probability of acquiring Tier 1 customers, which can be used for our strategic audience targeting. And so lastly, to implement this specific example, we'll walk through targeting the Silver Sophisticates mosaic, and then we'll build a core audience in Facebook. So after predicting the most profitable audience to target, we're able to dive deeper into the specific demographic and digital behaviors that are unique to each mosaic household. So here's an example of the interests associated with Silver Sophisticates, visiting museums, antique shopping, classical music, first-class travelers, avid readers, needlework, and painting. And so these are what we use to build a core audience in Facebook to target and increase the likelihood of acquiring our Tier 1 customers. So to the left, you can see the whole workflow that's used in our member personalization project. We start with classifying our customers into tiers, append the personal attribute data to our customers, and then using machine learning to make predictions, analyze the results in Looker, and generate a hypothesis, which is then tested using scenarios, and scenario outcomes are then used to develop marketing strategy. So the ultimate goal for our analytics team is to progress towards the predictive and prescriptive, to more strategically grow our membership base as opposed to just kind of guessing and testing. And so this project has been an example of us trying to make that move. And as a result, we've developed a workflow that aims to target which customers are the most profitable to target, and upon acquisition, which customers are most likely to be marginal or opportunistic, so we can prescribe the appropriate actions or engagement to hopefully move them closer towards our ideal customers. And the next steps are working directly with all of our different marketing channels to implement this workflow and then continue to refine this process accordingly.